I want to talk a little bit more about my book series in relation to the research that I've been doing. But just to start off, the main premise of the book series that I'm working on, the fictional book series, is it centers around a dystopian world that has a very long timeline. You know that, and the series is actually called The Fall of John Rowe because the story originally is set in this sort of a Victorian era, which is sort of falsely claimed to be in the 12th century because they want to change history around because they want to distort the sort of or hide and misrepresent what the cultural battle actually was that was going on at this time. But it was in reality in the novel, it's actually in the Victorian era and involves a composer, a very famous composer named Edmund, who is not only brilliant and ingenious as a composer, but he's in this sort of cultural warfare against these people who are trying to tear down what I guess you would classify as the monarchic republic. But it's not a monarchic republic in the mainstream sense of the word. It's a monarchic republic where the monarch actually has a functional role within the republic. It's not just an old tradition, like some sort of decorative old tradition that is left over hanging on the wall, but it has no actual purpose. That there's a disciplined, systematic, intelligent approach where there is a monarch, but the community, the society as a whole, also has a role in influencing the way that things work. So there is communication. There is people are not just underlings in the face of the king, obviously, but the composer Edmund is up against these people essentially who are trying to degrade the monarchy and sort of make it devolve into this more chaotic and more hegemonic kind of state, and through and they're these sort of debauched noblemen, one of them is named John Rowe, and he's the one who gets this entire horrible legacy started, which goes all the way into year 2400 in this futuristic society in the United States that follows in John Rowe's footsteps. But so does the cultural warfare. Edmund is trying to stop these alcoholic, debauched aristocrats from slowly consuming this would once have been this great society, very functional society. But I think the purpose in writing all this is really, like I said, in a symbolic sense, it's about a sense of morality, a moral compass versus chaos. Or this sense of futility, the sense of purposelessness, and there's even in philosophy. I've been reading a book by Matthew Arrett. He's a researcher and social commentator, and he writes many books where he analyzes history, takes it apart. And so he's been writing a book called the Anglo-Venetian Roots of the Deep State. And one of the parts of the book is interesting, was talking about this philosophy that everything in the universe, I think the metaphor he used was like a pool table, where it's like balls chaotically colliding with each other, and everything has a sense of randomness to it, which naturally creates a sense of futility and meaninglessness, and that everything, and there's other branches, or all variations of this kind of philosophy. Another one is the idea that everything in the universe is always in a state of gradual destruction, and that sort of ties into it too. And you can see symbolic representations of this in even in movies like in Batman, like the Joker. He's supposed to embody anarchy, not in the real sense, not in the sense that he actually values freedom, but in the sense that he's trying to humiliate, degrade, like this sort of evil trickster, sort of bring society into chaos, believing that people, when they're tested, when they're put to the test, that their real nature comes out, that human beings are naturally more like animals. And this is where it's going someplace very interesting, that people will show you their true colors, that they're not as good as they thought they were, that their code is just a kind of an artificial restraint that has been held down on them. But when push comes to shove, they will reach their breaking point. They'll do terrible things. They'll act irrationally, And I get the sense maybe that ties into these different branches of philosophy that all kind of give you, they're all sort of subtle variations of the same idea. And that's sort of, and all that entire school of thought, I guess you call it, is what Edmund is working against when he's trying to stop a lot of the debauchery from destroying the Republic. And Edmund, through his music, is sort of trying to restore that sense of order, harmony, and also a sense of there being an objective beauty, there being, some sort of higher purpose.